Yishkoyach everyone for coming. Good morning. We are learning Leilui Nishmas Bas Yafega Bas Yisrael, Leilui Nishmas Levi ben Yosef, for the Refuah Shlema of Sarah Bas Rachel Fega, and for the Refuah Shlema of Leah Shoshana Bas Malia. I want to just address one thing before we start learning, because what we're learning about is the holiness of the holiness and the gdulah, the greatness of the and the power of Nashim Tzidkaniyot Yisrael, of a mother, of a wife, of a sister, of a daughter, and we're basically tuning ourselves strongly into the kedusha of a home. So we have a Jewish home, of a healthy home. And obviously, everyone's very shaken up by the assassination yesterday of Charlie Kirk. And Charlie knew about the Shabbos we had with the Ambassador Huckabee. Charlie was supposed to be in the shul later this year for a Shabbos. And he was someone that was very, very clear on a lot of things that have become completely confusing and messed up in this world regarding basics, just basic things, like a family. Very, very simple things that to us are very, what's sorry? Muvan me'elav, like things that are just very, very clear. So it's a for us, very, very difficult. My daughter is devastated because she was basically she was listening to him every single day for a very, very long time. And coming home last night, I was in the Rova. I had an event. I came home to tell your daughter that someone that she listens to, receives from, and seeks a lot of sees that there's someone in the world that's just saying things that are muvan me'elav and there's no problem about it. It's very, very, very shaking. It's I obviously forbid her from watching any footage of anything. Hashem yirachim aleinu. That, can you imagine if social media existed in the time Martin Luther King or President Kennedy, or Robert? So these things we have to really nishmar temod lenafshasechem. I would highly recommend that if you haven't seen, any footage, to mamish stay as far away as you can from it, and. There should be whatever wake-up call the world needs in order to re-plug in and realign with basics, that the time should be right now. Because when we're learning Torah, we're not just thinking about the protection of Am Yisrael, although we've been definitely focused on that, rightfully so, for the last 2 years, more than ever. But that really we're learning B'Shem Kol Yisrael, B'Shem Kol Ha'olam Kulo, for the sanity of the whole world. So, it's just very important for me to address this, as he heard about our shul, and he was very excited to be here. And it would have been, I believe, just like it was with the ambassador, a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. It would have been a tremendous Kiddush Hashem also to have him here. And he's a person that spoke about Shabbos, that actually really took on certain elements of what Shabbos does to the neshama. As you all know, that for a person like that to put away his phone every single Shabbos is a very, very, very big deal. You can go online, you can find him speaking about you can go online and see not just what Shabbos was to him, but you see what it did to their home. His wife, his almana, will speak about this as well, how it's completely transformed the rhythm of what was going on in their home as a family. And his wife and his precious 2 children should have a nechama. And alavai Be'ez Hashem, that ark meshuggah velt, this should be the last thing that is so insane that flips things over. Somehow, since HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, so we believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do anything, as we see every single day of our lives. And that's why it's very, very, very important I felt very important for me to address this. And I'll just say, I myself found myself in the last, I would say 6 months, when looking at what's going on in America, or looking at what's going on in the world, quite often, as of I think yesterday or the day before, I also found myself listening to the way that he conducted the most basic basic element of civil communication, which is actually called communication. And it's a very, very, very heavy thing. It's a very, very strong thing. It's a very heavy thing. And Alavai, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, all of the world will only know of Shalom V'Shalva, and this shouldn't Chalila spiral on to more Meshigas, more Meshugan Azachin. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. So we're back, and we're back in this wonderful, beautiful Mahalach that we began. I just want you to know, the women that are coming here to the Shiurim, that there have been Rebbitzins of different communities that have contacted me since we put out last week's Shiur, that have basically said we've been waiting for a group of chevra to learn like this, to learn about the kedusha of a mother, to learn about the kedusha of a Jewish woman through tefillah, like the way that we're doing. And we have a lot of chevra that are with us right now, and it's very inspiring and it's very humbling. And it means we have a beautiful big thing that's on our plate, that I hope that with anava, with humility, we walk through this gate and bring Hashem nachas. That's really my hope and my kavanah. And again, for those that weren't here last week or didn't hear last week, I just want to reiterate a certain thing. This is not like let's do a feel-good women's shiur. It says not, you don't need that. Definitely not from me. You know, that's a tafkid of manhigot, of mashpiot that can do that. We're trying to connect to something that we believe will bring Yeshua to Am Yisrael, and that is the koyach and the ha'atzama of tefillas Nashim. And the way that we're going to get there is going to be through the Sfarim HaKadoshim and through obviously a mahalach that is seen, we're going to see through Chazal. But I don't want anyone for 1 second while we're learning to start feeling that this is kilu, like women need to feel more included and more important. I'm very proud, very, very proud of the way that we conduct ourselves in the community, where the women, Baruch Hashem, all you have to do is walk into the shul and see the makom of women, and that should just give us strength to continue on our mahalach in a healthy and holy way, Be'ez Hashem. So before we even get to we're still in a level of Hagdama, before we get to the concept of the tefillah of Nashim itself, what is different, what is unique, what is the spotlight, what is the importance of it, there's still a very important thing that we have to cover. And that'll be what we're going to be seeing today, as you see on page Lamed in front of you, Malas Am Yisrael. The Mila of a mother in Am Yisrael. I don't know how much we'll be able to get through, but hopefully whatever we do should really be chazak. This is Torah from the Biala Rebbe, we began speaking about last week. And when I was a kid in Kita, I think it was Kita Hey, 5th grade, there were certain things we were tested on that we had to learn by heart. One thing was Aseres Adibros, and the other thing, I guess this was according to Misrad HaChinuch, the other thing we had to learn by heart was Shirat Devorah. Anyone else have to learn Shirat Devorah by heart? Shoftim Perek Hey, I think it is. The song of Devorah and Barak ben Avinoam. Shirat Devorah. We're going to see something over here about Devorah HaNeviah, the manhiga, that'll help us connect to everything that we're trying to learn over here. And this goes before we go deeper into the sugya of Tfilat Nashim. The Kodem Shenavo Levaer. The Kodem Shenavo Levaer et Me'at, et Ma'alat Tfilot Neshot Yisrael, Nevaer Tchila Malas Am Yisrael. What the Biala Rebbe is very big on, and he began speaking about this last week, is that if a person is not really aware of their erech, of their value, it's very hard for them to be themselves. It's very hard for them to understand what they're doing in this world. קודם שנבוא לבאר מעט את מעלס תפילס נשות ישראל, נבאר תחילה מעלס אם בישראל, על פי היסודס אשר לימדונו חז"ל הקדושים. What did Chazal say about the heilige Maila of a mother? כבר נודע כי אם בישראל היא זו המעמידה והמקיימת את בית ישראל בכל הדורות. We already know that throughout all generations, the one That's ma'amida umekayemet. Mekayemet obviously means to fulfill, to make exist. But ma'amida is a very important word. Ma'amida means to make something stand up. Means to give it kiyum. We know that it's the Am Yisrael. It's a mother. Kmo shegilta lanu Devorah HaNeviah. Now, Devorah HaNeviah was a very, very inspiring figure and a very powerful figure. And she reveals to us at a moment where she could have spoken about her strength and her physical strength or her wisdom, her military wisdom. When she goes and tries to explain to Am Yisrael what it's all about, she says like this, Sod kocha haya bema shayta Am Yisrael. She says, you know why? You know what made me so strong? You know what made Am Yisrael so victorious and me in a role of leadership? Is because I'm a mama, because I'm a mother. Kmo shenemar ad shekamti Devorah, shekamti Am Yisrael. This is the lashon in Sefer Shoftim. The context over here is, in the times of, I believe it was Sisera, many of the villages and the towns where Yidden were living, and they became completely destroyed and desolate. Devorah HaNeviah explains how did we reconquer and how did we resettle and dwell again in these towns and villages. And because you may think, she says, it's because I have like some chokhmah regarding, in the military. I have a very strong brain that knows how to act in this manner. She says, no. Ad shekamti Devorah, shekamti Am Yisrael. That a mother and the wisdom of a mother stood up in the forefront and began to machzir kavod to Am Yisrael. This is how Devorah HaNeviah describes how she sees the victory. V'hainu, shetalta et koach nevuata ve'hanhagata et klal Yisrael, bekach shehi Am Yisrael. An Am Yisrael. Ve'Am Yisrael, to say you're an Am Yisrael, hu milashon gadlut umanhigut. Aim is always a reference to greatness and leadership. Shekol Am Yisrael yesh la kochot miyuchadim. Every mother in Am Yisrael has special kochos. Livnos es beis Yisrael begashmius uveruchnius. To build our homes, both physically and spiritually. Physically, begashmius shen torchos lesapek es tzarchei beisa, sheken darkan lahachel es bnei beisan, ulegadel es yaldein im kol hakaruch bekach. It's physically because they are the ones that are constantly supplying and satisfying the needs of the home, because their way is to always feed all those that are in their house. Ulegadel es yaldein im kol hakaruch bekach, and to raise their children with all. Come to Sunday morning. Uberuchnius shehen bonos es batein al adnei Torah ve'ayira kmo sheyisbar. But this sefer is not only to give women kochos, to feel that even though have to do so many mundane things, know that it's so holy to fold the laundry. It's so holy to put food into the oven. It's so holy to make sure that the kids have what they need on their feet and on their bodies, v'chulei. Here, this sefer is taking us to a place of saying, do you understand that all the ruchnius that comes out of the home, it's all because you are ma'amid. Ma'amid, that's the word. Ma'amid, you make it stand. You make it be. You make it be a reality. As we will mevayir right now. And this concept of davar ha-ma'amid is what we're going to be speaking about today. Let's see the greatness of a mother in Am Yisrael. And this brings us back to the sugya that we spoke about last week, about the first mitzvah is pru urvu. However, pru urvu is a mitzvah on the man. Why is it on the man? I'm sure you've heard many shiurim on this. Why is it on the man? It's very strange. A mitzvah that seems to be so much more kashur to a mother, to a woman, the mitzvah itself, the kiyum, the chiyuv of the mitzvah, of the obligation, is put on a man. Further, is this a mitzvah sasei shazman grama? What do you think? Is it a time-bound mitzvah, which would explain to us? Okay, so then therefore that's say that for some reason falls into that category. Yes.
It is.
It's a mitzvah sasesha man grama.
If you ask me, yeah.
Huh?
Because you've got the whole mikveh issue, that's a time-bound thing, and then you have an age issue.
I hear what you're saying, and some Rishonim say this. Anyone thinks different? That it's mitzvah sasesha man. Sorry?
It's not a specific day or time.
It's not. Yeah. When we speak about mitzvah sasesha man grama, those are very specific time-bound mitzvahs. This is a little bit different. He's going to explain it over here, but there's such a beautiful, deep understanding of this. מהי גדולתם של עם בישראל? הנה מצוות פרובו הגם שהיא מצווה ששה שלא הזמן גרמה. At the end of the day, it does not count. It doesn't fall into the category of a time-bound mitzvah, which you would say, then therefore, it's on the woman, right? Nashim pturot mikiyuma. A woman is patur from mekayiming this mitzvah on the level of a mitzvah. I'm going to say that again. A woman is ptura from mekayiming the mitzvah of pru'urvu on the level of a mitzvah. Let me try to, let's unravel, let's unpack this a little bit. When I have a mitzvah that I have, when I'm mekayim, when Hashem says to me, you have to mekayim a mitzvah, what do we know about the Ribbon Shleilim? That the Ribbon Shleilim would never go there, gzeira she'ein tzibur yachol lamod ba. That means that we believe all the mitzvahs are rachamim. It's all compassion. It's all love. And the mitzvahs that are commandments are not things that would never be decreed upon a situation that we can't mekayim. That's what we believe. And we also hold that Chazal then later on say, Ein gozrim gzeira ala tzibur she'enam yecholim lamud ba. As you look at the development of halacha, you see this in many different areas. That Chazal, maybe in previous years, there was a certain gzeira that Chazal said needs to be on the people. But because, and Alter Rebbe speaks about this a lot in Igeres HaTshuva regarding fasts, but over the years, the shinui of how our nature is and what we're accustomed to and not accustomed to, so Chazal would then change. They wouldn't put us through a gzeira she'ein hatzibur yachol la'amod ba. What does this have to do with the mitzvah of pru'urvu and the women's connection to this mitzvah or not? So the mitzvah is, obviously, women are infinitely more connected to the mitzvah of pru'urvu, but not mitzad the fact that they're commanded about it. This is very important. Ela mitzad, another word, and that is ratzon. The connection to the mitzvah of pru'urvu is mitzad ratzon. We'll see this. We'll see this inside. Ki me'achar v'shamati tam badavar. So Biala Rebbe says, I heard a reason for this, that women are pturos from the mitzvah of pru'urvu. But has any woman ever said, learn Torah? Do you know of anyone that's like, learn Torah and their logic to not bring children into the world is because they said, well, it's not a mitzvah that I'm chayav in. So therefore, Hashem loves me, it's all good. He didn't mechayev me to bring children into the world. Ma pitom. That's not how, Baruch Hashem, our mothers and sisters and daughters and all of you think. We're coming from a completely different place. כי מאחר שעבודת הנשים בגידול הבנים יש בה mesirut תמידית. I don't have to tell you this, the mesirut nefesh, the dedication, the commitment, is not an hour in the morning and an hour at night. It's all day, every single day, mesirut תמידית. וצריכות הן לתת חלק גדול מן החיים שלהם בשביל עצם הריון והולדת הילדים. A chunk of your life is completely invested. I'm just speaking right now about pregnancy and birth. Just that alone. Obviously, this is a Be'ez Hashem. Everyone should have healthy pregnancies. You know, it's the 9 months, and it doesn't. And the whole inyan of bringing a baby into the world does not stop once you have a child. Obviously, it kind of only begins then. Begidul atinoket v'tipucham v'chinucham, raising the child, and all that goes into that. V'kol ha'da'aga shedoagot ha'imahot tzviv ha'yiladim erev ha'voker v'tzarayim, and the worry and the concern that mothers have over their children, which a man can't fathom, and it's okay. This is not a man-bashing shiur either, like I said last week. It's just the way that Hashem designed the world is that a man, of course, has concern and worry for their children. Of course they do. But it's a completely different olam of concern and worry than a woman has. It is less consuming. It's less consuming because obviously the way that Hashem designed it is that our children, that are our life, and they're our hearts and souls. You just heard me express my dire concern over my older daughter right now after what happened yesterday, meaning we're all concerned over anything that happens to our children. But being consumed by it, this is a tchuna nashit, the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed the world, this is the Mitzrayim, this is the reality. Erev avokar v'tzorayim, morning, afternoon, and evening. Third line, v'lachen kashe letzavot alehen laset et kol hamasa hazeh. Therefore, it's hard to letzavot, to command you to carry such a burden. You may say it's not a burden. It is a burden. It's a holy burden, but it's a burden. What burden? Shel tisha yarchei leida, tsar herayon v'gidul banim. The burden of 9 months of pregnancy, that which goes into the obviously difficulty when it comes to actual birth, and then the games begin, and then raising children, right? Now, I love this line, what he says here. This is a big ha'ara for me. Ve'iyefshar ela sheta'aseh zos mitzad ratzona ha'atzmi. That be'emes, the only way to do such a thing and take on such a thing has to come just from her own ratzon. Ki mitzad tzivui bilvad lo tuchal la'amod b'zeh. Because if bringing children into the world, if the chiyuv was on a woman, and that's why she had to bring children into the world, that she's chayav in the mitzvah, that it's on her, then what is he saying basically? What would be her? What would be the real
Obligation.
Sorry?
You can't do it from obligation.
You can't do it from obligation. You can only do it from ratzon. Now that's a wondrous chiddush when bichlal, when you learn about tamei ha-mitzvahs, when you learn more about each mitzvah, and you begin to understand the chiyuv and the ptur on every single mitzvah, this opens the gate to something tremendous. And I'm trying to think right now, what is a man not mitzvah to do? Because if he was mitzvah, it'd be too much of an ol, so it could only happen from his own ratzon. Nothing, because we wouldn't end up doing it. because we wouldn't do it. Meaning, if there's, again, not a man bashing shir, but just explaining the reality. This is a beautiful understanding of the unraveling of pnimiyus tamei ha-mitzvahs, right? We wouldn't do it. Alavai, we had that ratzon to do things we're not chayav to do, right? Alavai, the fact that this is how we go about our relationship with bringing children into the world, and the raising and all of that, and that it's not a tzivui on the woman, opens up for us the whole world of ratzon, which is directly connected to the pnimiyus of davening, of tefillah. Is a woman chayavet in to daven? I'm already opening it up now because we're going to spend weeks and weeks on this shaila. But just based on this, is a woman chayav to daven?
Yes. She has to daven, but not
Not
scared that man.
I'm not even answering. I'm throwing it out there in the air. But I want you to think about this, because this will help us understand the whole world of chiyuv and ptor of mitzvahs by women versus men. But this nekuda of bringing children into the world is a Yiddish concept, it's a Jewish concept, but it also has its ways of sending rays of light to the whole world, and we'll also see what happens when this inyan of bringing children to the world gets thought of in different ways than the way that we think of why we bring children into the world, why we want to bring children into the world. When we did a parenting shir back in our former place in Beit Stone, this was 7-8 years ago, we did a short parenting summer based on a sefer from a highly recommended sefer by Rav Erez Moshe Doron called From Dust to Gold, where he speaks about parenting over there. And he opens up his shir by saying, why do Jewish people bring children into the world? If you do it because that's what people do, that's not a Jewish way of bringing children into the world. That's something else. I don't know what that is. He says an amazing thing. He quotes Reb Nassan of Breslov. Every single child that comes into the world will eventually, if not already at birth, show us a new derech in avodas Hashem. A new way of serving Hashem. Essentially, in the pnimius of our neshamas, that is why we bring children into the world. Because all the mahut of a Yehudi is to find more and more and more ways to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeu. Yeah, there are all these perks. Cute. Nachas, big one. Nachas to the parents, big one. Lechule. Also a sense of shleimus habayis, of the home being more complete. 100%. The kol is nachon. But the inyan, the ikar nekuda inside, deep down inside, if we could just interview our souls that are in tune with pnimius ratzon Hashem, the answer would be is because every single child is showing us a completely new avenue as to how to engage in a personal, intimate relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam. That's based on Reb Nassan. I remember I asked that question in the beginning of that first shir, right? I said, why did any of you have children? Sometimes I ask questions and I know people are going to look at me a little bit weird in the beginning. And no one ever looked weirder than that question that was thrown out into the room. There are 3 people that I remember right now what they looked like when I said that question. It's not something we think about. What do you mean, why? Why? Because that's what we do. It's a mitzvah. Oh, really? On who? When we start to discuss these things, the mila of a mother, of a daughter, a sister, and of the nekeva, of the nukva, starts to illuminate in a very, very profound way, which is very essential for how we're going to be learning this. So therefore, ubezot, second paragraph, nitalu neshot Yisrael al neshot shar umot haolam. I apologize. This next paragraph may be a little bit, not, for us it's okay, but it's not really the way that things we would say or want to admit, but there's an inyan here. ובזאת נתעלו נשות ישראל לנשות שאר אומות העולם, שאצלן להבדיל, מסע גידול הילדים נופל עליהם כעול כבד, במה שצריכות הן לטפל בהם תדיר, להמציא להם מזונות ולהוציא הוצאות עבורם. Quite often when people think about bringing children into the world, outside of our world, then it's very much quite often based on a financial calculation. And they feel that that's actually being responsible. Now, there's a lot to say about that. This is not for this year. But the way that a lot of the approach to how many kids you have, if you have kids, v'chulei, has a lot to do with financial considerations, is not generally the way that we should be approaching this topic. I've heard a lot of different shitas from big gedolim about this. When couples that already did mekayim the mitzvah of pruruvu, and the shaila is, should we have more children? Quite often the answer that I've heard, and that I'm still learning inside, is that if you have enough already right now, providing enough already right now for the home that you have and the children that you have, and you're not sure how you could have more, weiter, bring more kinderlach into the world. If already now the kids barely have what to eat, there's no inyan of saying, let's throw another one around this hungry table. Okay? This is not halacha, what I just said right now. This is just a lot of ashkafa based on das Torah that I've spent a lot of time, in trying to understand, because these are shilas we get all the time. But the way that our general approach to bringing children into the world is what we're trying to see over here, because this will bring us to the gedula and the mila of Am Yisrael, of a mother in Am Yisrael. Third line, ולכן ממעטין הם בהבאת ילדים לעולם. אך בעם ישראל הוא ההפך הגמור. שנשים צדקניות מקיימות את שליחותן בעולם בשמחה ובאהבה. כי זכות גדולה היא עבורן לגדל ולהעמיד חיילים להשם לתורתו. But our Nashim Tzidkaniyot, they makayim this shlichus in this world, even though it's hard, but it's done with simcha and with love, because it's tremendous chus to raise and to bring up chayalim laHashem uleTorato, soldiers to Hashem and to His Torah. V'chol avodat Hashem yitbarach shel ha'anashim tluya ve'omedet b'zchutan. This is the Biala Rebbe saying these words. This is not a young modern Orthodox rabbi from young Israel of the Holy Bagel. You understand what I'm saying? This is the Biala Rebbe saying these words. All the Avodah, the men going to Minyan, all the mitzvahs, all the limud, everything, it's tluya ve'omedet b'zchutan. You know, one time Rav Weinberger, I heard him saying this in a shir. It was such a great moment. He said, I don't think I was there. I think I heard it on a shir. I feel like I was there. Sometimes that happens. When you feel so part of the shir, you're like, was I there? Not there? I don't think I was there, but he said like this. He says, I know, chevra, you're thinking right now, you woke up so early, you're sitting here, it's gewalt, and you even brought your wife a cup of coffee, and whatever it is. Even though, and you think, wow, if they only knew what they had, right? And he said to them, he ripped them, he said, you shlomazos, you chevra, you actually think that that's what it's about if they only knew what they had? If you didn't have a wife to once every 3 months bring a cup of coffee to, right? That was there every single morning, doing what she's doing, being who she is, you wouldn't be able to figure out how to put a shoelace on. Mashu kazeh. Like it was like a moment of behira. He just, I don't know. I probably wasn't there because I don't know what the context was. But I remember that line saying, because it's the same thing he's saying over here. Kol avodat Hashem yitbarach shel ha'anashim. Anashim, he means here gvarim, because when it's anash, you'll say nashim versus anashim, right? Kol avodat Hashem yitbarach shel ha'anashim tluya ve'omedet b'zchutan, shehen ikar ha'ma'amid shel kerem Beit Yisrael. Yes, the man, of course, is part of bringing this family to be. But the ikar ma'amid, the ikar of the tzura of the family, the ikar of the tzura of the future of this dream is the em, is the mother. Of the vineyard, he calls it so beautifully, shel kerem Beis Yisrael, of the vineyard of Beis Yisrael. Shekol anfei ha'ilan tmuchim v'nishanim alehem. That all the branches of the tree are leaning and being supported by the main, I guess we would call it in this context. It's not a branch. What is it? The trunk. Ve'en la'anashim shum kiyum biladein. You have no kiyum. And the way the world, this is an amazing, today is the birthday of the Baal Shem HaKadosh, right? I heard from Rav Shlomo that he said that Mashiach will come when I think I said this last week, the Baal Shem Tov, that when women have gotten back to their place again in this world, in the right and holy way. That's why there's been so much energy in this area. But it's been, like I asked you last week, is Me Too a holy movement or not? That's why, because it's in the air, the energy's in the air, but to put it in the right holy place is obviously because it's so potent and the world is so dependent on this inyan. This is a key piece of the Geula. But to say a line like this is the Biala Rebbe, and again, like Shoshana, going back to your question, that I still don't know the answer to of, was this written for the Hasidim to learn? The men, or was it dafka for the women? Sometimes you have svarim that say, L'gvarim bilvad, l'nashim bilvad, and that's not the situation here. And I'm actually not going to ask because I don't want to know the answer. Because I feel like if it showed up on the shelf, this is Torah hi v'tzrichim an limod otah. But to say a line like this, Kol anfei ha'ilan tmuchim v'nishanim alehem ve'en la'anashim shum kiyum biladein. I was zoche, listen, bemet, I'll share this with you. My siblings and I were zoche to live in a house that this was very, very clear to us, that our father made it clear to us, not once a year on Rosh Hashanah. Those of you that know my Abba, he's Argentinian, he's a romantic, he's European. It's different. It's a different. It was very different than the way most of my friends and their parents. My father made it clear to us almost every single Shabbos, Yeladim, ani bli ima shum davar. All the time. He said this all the time. He still does. All the time. And we have a joke amongst the siblings. My father would say, Ima kama babokir. He would start listing all the things that we weren't aware of that our mother does all the time. My mom's like, stop. But like we grew up, this was like around our table all the time. All the time. It's probably the that and bringing us to Eretz Yisrael, the two greatest gifts that we got from home. Yeah.
It reminds me of Rav Menachem Fruman.
Just a little louder, please.
Rav Menachem Fruman, his minhag, which I'm sure you know, I think you know, he kisses his wife's feet at every chuppah of his child.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the other thing he does under a chuppah.
What's that?
He says there's kiddushin al pi halacha and there's kiddushin al pi hazor. And al pi hazor, the kiddushin is that you say hare at, right? V'kol ha-shar hanashim sheba'olam hem kmo kof bishvili. Which means, I saw this the first time and I was like, how come people aren't freaking out? But it was his chevra. Then I saw him do it again and again. And all other women in the world are like a monkey in my eyes. Yeah, but that thing of kissing the toes, En la'anashim shum kiyum biladeim. We don't have a kiyum outside of them. Sheken hen meviot et hatinakot halalu la'olam, which basically means they do something that we forget about what's going on in the Meshuggah world, but that we men, if it was even possible for us, because of the way that we're created and the way that our mind and heart are aligned, we would never come to the conclusion that this is something that we would do out of our own ratzon. We would never do it. שכן הן מביאות את התינוקות הללו לעולם, מטפלות בהם, מאכילות אותם, מגדלות אותם, ונותנות בהם את הכוחות הנפשיים ללמוד תורה. And they also, besides all these important gashmi things, they also, like he says over here, they give their children kochos hanefesh lilmod Torah. The Abba maybe gives the child maybe a side of wisdom, of chokhmah, of the wisdom of the Torah. But the kochos, and even that's not exactly, now it's everyone, but kochot hanefesh. Kochot hanefesh, a mother's word of you have this, you can do this, is this is, al titosh Torah simecha. Don't ever let go of your mother's voice saying you got this. That's something that comes from the mother. ולפיכך יש להם זכות גדולה, לא רק אל עצם גידולם, אלא אף על כל עתידם. So they have a tremendous zchus, not just on raising them, but on anything that happens to them later on. Which obviously connects to a pasuk that we learn quite often in chinuch. Chanoch lomar al pi darko, gam ki yaskin lo yoser mimenu, which we said last week in Shir. That you have to realize, if you're in tune with the specialty of what makes your child tick, and your kid is aware that I have a mother that sees that, then gam ki yaskin lo yasur mimenu, that even when they get older, that never leaves them. That never leaves them. Kasher yigadlu, so this stays with them for the future. Kasher yigdalu v'yasku b'Torah. And when the kids grow older, and let's say if we're speaking more about boys that grow older, become Rosh Yeshivas, become whatever they do, hakol yeh nizkaf lekoach ha'em asher chelka gadol b'schar toratam. V'nemtza. Yeah.
I know you said the anashim is like the gvarim, but you actually translated it as people, and the paragraph still makes sense. Meaning, right, like the kol avodah Hashem yisrach shel anashim, meaning really the whole
What line are you on? I'm sorry.
The first line of that paragraph.
Okay, yeah.
Right, shel anashim tluya v'omedet b'zchutan, right? We said it's lately like the husband, the
Right.
father, whatever, but also really it's the kids, right? So it's really all the, you could translate that Nashim as like, really the theme of all of Am Yisrael is, right?
You could, you could in darshaning it, but I don't want us to do that because you'll see later on that he doesn't say it's dafka anashim versus nashim in this sefer. But it's true, it's meaning, of course, but I don't want to darshan the words of the Biala over here. Let's keep it, yeah.
You know, in that famous Gemara where the questions are asked what people are going to live by at the end of their life, and it's
The questions that they're
the
asked.
questions that Hashem is going to
Yeah.
ask you right? And one of them is asakta b'Torah b'Rivia.
Right.
And I always wonder, like, why lasok? And it's lasok b'Divrei Torah.
Ah.
The same language. And I think
Asakta.
that is a really beautiful idea.
Asakta, that's
Really
beautiful.
good,
That's beautiful. Asakta.
there could be any other language. What is asakta?
Right, it could be lamata, darashta, asakta is something
Because
else.
it's full time, because it never ends. And just like Talmud Torah, and what we're trying to give over to our kids.
Yomam balayla. Erev boker b'tzorayim. Morning, afternoon, and evening. Yeah. Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry. Okay, what if I have adult kids, and what if they're very busy? I feel like I give them upholds nefesh, like they're very self-assured and strong.
Baruch Hashem, yeah.
But they're not necessarily very close to Torah. And we grew up in a house with Torah, and I made Aliyah with them, and they were close to maybe Hashem and being Jewish, not necessarily very busy in Torah. So does that mean I fail? I'm not saying like I don't think I'm a failure, but I'm just
absolutely.
putting that
You
out there,
failed.
like an idea of like,
Chas v'shalom.
no, because I think it's a real challenge of the generation, and I have to say they're very smart. I can't even fight a lot of their philosophical arguments. They're very mechubad, so it's not that.
Right, so but you're basically asking me the question if you failed or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
They have to be very busy in Torah and living a Torah life, and Chayalim of Torah, they're Chayalim. I can't necessarily promise for Torah.
Everyone else here could promise that. Everyone here, everyone's children here are
I'm saying,
tzaddikim, gemurim, mamash.
It's just how you look at the word Torah. Of course we were.
Yeah, but this is opening up a window I'm
Nahum.
absolutely not going into right now. B'shum panim va'ofen. And you know how much I love your children, so I'm bichlal not going in there. V'nimtza שנשות ישראל הן המעמידות את עולם התורה. If anyone could find a better word from להעמיד, let me know. I'd really appreciate it. But
Lahashrish.
no, in English.
Oh.
להעמיד.
Hold up.
To hold up. To hold up.
Sustain.
Yeah, 100%. נמצא שנשות ישראל הן המעמידות את עולם התורה, שכן כנודע בכל מקום התורה. We know, throughout anything, a davar ma'amid, this is a halachic concept as well, שהדבר המעמיד את המצווה נחשב כמצווה עצמה. That which holds up a mitzvah is considered like the mitzvah itself. And there's some examples. Kedugmas, shutfus Issachar Zevulun. You've heard of this concept before? Issachar and Zevulun? Issachar, what do we know about Issachar? Well, we see he was a Yodei Bina, Bnei Issachar, Yodei Bina Leitim. They were learners. What do we know about Zevulun? Zevulun lechof yamim yishkon. They were businessmen. So the partnership that we have today, when people are trying to, say, listen, I'm a businessman, you're a Steiger, I'm going to be the Zevulun, you're going to be Issachar, right? And there's a shutfus. And the learning, right, is ki'ilu, goes on both of them. שזבולון נחשב כמו יששכר, משום שהוא נותן ליששכר את האפשרות לעסוק בתורה. וכן מצאו, who's the מעמיד over there? Zevulun or Issachar? Zevulun. Right, Zevulun is. Yes, Zevulun is. Zevulun is the ma'amid of whatever is happening with that mitzvah of Talmud Torah. וכן מצאנו גם דין מעמיד בסוכה. There's no time to get into this as well, but also the beams that hold up the sukkah are considered part of the mitzvah as well, even though they're not the ikar of the mitzvah, but they give it their ma'amid, right? But he says over here a beautiful thing. You think Zevulun's a gewalt? Achen zchus Nashim Tzidkaniyot gdola od yoseh mishel Zevulun. Take it higher now when it comes to the role of a mother. Mishum shezvulun mesayo Issachar rak b'mamono. What makes Zevulun the mamid? One thing.
Money.
Mula. That's it. Ve'ilu hanashim hen המעמיד הגדול ביותר אשר נושאות הן את עול הבית על שכמן וטורחות הן בגופן להביא את ילדיהן לעולם, להאכילם, לגדלם, לחנכם בתורה וחופה ולכל הנצרך להם. What would you say makes a woman a ma'amida of the home? You're going to actually put it on one thing? It's everything. By Zevulun, it's one Inyan. It's that he has the financial means to create a situation that Issachar can learn, and that makes him a ma'amid. By a woman, what makes a woman a ma'amidah? The one that holds everything up? Everything. The whole mahut, like, connected to what you're saying, but asok, like the whole esek, like the whole zach, the whole thing is what's ma'amid the home. It's not one thing. So therefore, if Zevulun gets not just brownie points, but if by Zevulun, the mitzvah of Talmud Torah that Issachar is doing is shayach to Zevulun like it's happening to him, and that's only because of one element that enables learning. Now think about anything that comes out of the house. Anything that comes out of the house. All of it is in the zechut of the ma'amidah, which is the aim. Umishum kach hashuvos hein etzel HaKadosh Baruch Hu beyoter. This is not a pep talk for women, because later on in this sefer, he's going to show us exactly what he means when he says that there's this world of importance that is a heichal, that it's just shayach lenukva. It's just shayach to the world of the woman. Nashim Tzidkaniyot, bottom paragraph. Nashim Tzidkaniyot shebechol dor hen gan ha'ma'amidot shel klal Yisrael kulo. It's not just the home that they are ma'amid. They are ma'amid Am Yisrael. כפי שמצאנו בחז"ל, שגאולת מצרים, הייתה בזכות נשים צדקניות. We know that as like a very nice thing to say about mitzvahs or birthdays, or a nice thing to say about women. You ever stop and think for a second? Well, that's a pretty bold statement, Chazal said. How come, why weren't we Did you ever as a woman think maybe a man will get insulted that Chazal said, בזכות נשים צדקניות נגאלנו ממצרים? I know you didn't, why not? Now I'm a little bit, right? Because it's true. I'm just trying to point out that it's a very big statement. It's a very, Yetzias Mitzrayim was a big thing. It was a big thing. We say it all day long, it's every day, Zechut Yetzias Mitzrayim. It was a big thing. And this big thing is credited to the ma'amidot of Beis Yisrael. Just to go back to one, it was the first sikh I ever learned from the Rebbe. We've said it many times. Why is it that b'schus nashim tzidkaniyos nigalnu Mitzrayim? Pshat of the psukim that speak about how difficult things were, speaks more about the avoda kasha, the chomer u'b'levenim, the hard labor, the hard work. Chazal say it was the men that were out there in the field. They didn't make the women dafka do those things. Why? Because they actually wanted certain things to get built, and a man is physically stronger than a woman. Sorry, but just the mitzvahs. I didn't decide this. Hashem decided this. It's part of this fixing of this insanity of what's going on in the world. So the Rebbe says, so why is it schus nashim tzidkaniyos? He says, because as hard as the labor was for the man every single day, the sweat, the blood, God knows what was going on, chomer u'levenim, the mind games that was going on, and they still held on to their emunah, doesn't compare in anything to the emunah of a Jewish woman that just gave birth, and that baby was taken and placed into a wall or thrown into water, and that they still have emunah. You can't. It's a completely different world of emunah. You can't. En shum. The Rebbe says you can't. You can't. It's a lo shaveh. It's a different world. That to me is very much helps me with this statement of Chazal. B'schus nashim tzadkaniyos nigalnu Mitzrayim. בכך גם זכות נשים צדקניות היא זו שעומדת לעם ישראל בכל הדורות, להזכיים בכל הגלויות מעל דרך הטבע. It is the zchus of righteous women that also have helped create the fact that Am Yisrael could still be mekayim in all generations to exist in any galus, me'al derech hateva, which in ways that we can't understand, it doesn't make any sense. You have to understand, everything that we learned today is only a hachana for the hakaras erech atzmi, of every person needing to know what they're made out of. Because if you know what you're made out of, and then you approach davening, your davening is a completely different davening. It's just like a man. Same thing with the man, but we have to do a men's erech atzmi davening shir, something else. But if you come before HaKadosh Baruch Hu without understanding who you are, what you've been doing, and your erech, and then you come and you daven before the Ribono Shleilim, you know, Chassidus, they say the Ribono Shleilim is not interested in you showing up to the Ribono Shleilim like a confused Nebuch. Especially since tefillas Nashim Tzidkaniyot is so much of a thing that the Geula is dependent on. Women must understand the pnimius of who they are. And not, I'm sorry to say this, not what's been going on in the world the last 10 years, which is just basically a focus on the chitzonios of who they are. We're trying here to delve into the erech hapnimi of the ma'ila of a woman, for the sake of the tefillahs to finally crack open the gates that are still closed for the greeting of Melech HaMashiach. That's what we're doing here. So Be'ezer Hashem, we're going to continue next week with taking this whole notion to the next level, Be'ezrat Hashem. Shkoyach, everyone. Thank you for coming.